Folks, I recently acquired this cheap fiddle. I purchased it off of eBay. I was quite a ways into the eBay pages on with a search heading of old violin, such as I like to do every once in a while. I don't buy that much stuff off of eBay anymore. There was a time when I was quite consumed with sleuthing out instruments off of eBay, but that really doesn't happen hardly ever anymore. But for some reason I had gone in recently, a few weeks ago, and was just sort of looking around. I found this strange violin, a little bit strange, only because it's fire branded Salzard. And it's got a paper label inside that says Francois Salzard. That's all it says on the label, except for something that's penned in there in black ink by a guy apparently named Stanley Newton. It says repaired by Stanley Newton, Ottumwa, Iowa. Ottumwa, of course, being a small city in Iowa. I'm actually familiar with the Newton name from Ottumwa. I used to own a violin made by what turns out to be Mr. Stanley Newton's father, Ellis Newton. Ellis Newton was a violin maker who lived in Ottumwa, Iowa, back around the turn of the century and into the 1920s and 30s. The violin that I had years ago was dated 1934, and I actually sold it to a fellow who lives here locally in Tucson, Arizona. He still has it and still plays it every day. This violin is, like I said, is branded and labeled Francois Salzard. Now, Francois Salzard was actually a real maker who lived and thrived in France back in the very early 1800s. But I can assure you that that's not what we have here. What we have here is a very, very cheap, very inexpensive German violin made around 1900, possibly as early as 1890, thereabouts. Probably made for export to the United States of America for retail sale or catalog sales, such as the Sears Roebuck catalogs or Montgomery Ward catalog. What was interesting about this fiddle, though, is how much honest wear there was on it. A tremendous amount of finger mung and dirt accumulated all the length of each string. You could see evidence that there had been just a tremendous amount of fingering of the strings with the left hand fingers. It had been played and played and played and played and played and played. The varnish on the heel of the neck is completely worn away. Varnish worn away up here. There were dings and marks and dirt and other signs of excessive handling and use all over the whole body of the instrument. I would submit that this was probably a career instrument for somebody. Somebody played this violin their entire life. This violin was sold to me by a seller up in Tacoma, Washington, for whatever that's worth. How this violin made its way to Tacoma, Washington is anybody's guess. Let's see what it sounds like. The Francois Salzard. I'll discuss the Francois Salzard a little more in the near future. There's some things that one might find kind of interesting about the Salzard that don't meet the eye at first, but it's quite a cheap instrument. The interior work is actually nothing less than what might describe as ghastly, atrocious. And we'll discuss that in a forthcoming video. Bye-bye.